And we are live, yes. Good evening, welcome. Thank you one more time for giving your time, your attention, your energy for this live to really be co-creative, yes. Even if you arrive after the live, for sure, if you get some value from these talks, from this word, and even from this energy, I really will feel that my intended gift to you will be delivered, and as such, it will be quite a difference for me. So, today we are going to talk about deep strength. Deep strength is the concept I will once more address in a purpose driven fashion, which means simply that I will look at it by the lens of our current definition here in these lives. The definition is very simple, it's the definition of our truthful, authentic expression of ourselves evermore. That's my definition of life purpose, no matter if it's personal purpose or organizational purpose, whatever type of organization it may be. It may be a business, a family, a government, a town, a country, a neighborhood, doesn't matter. So, as such, we will look at this sentence, this expression, deep strength, and what does it mean? What can it bring us in the sense of putting us in a better state of really unleashing ever more dimensions and layers of our own purpose. And of course, that job, that very same job, that search can't really be separated from the times we are living right this moment. Those are times, these times, are times of upheaval, are times of distress, are times of real challenge, balance for so many people. And of course, all of this is being expanded, in my understanding, by the media, by the conventional attitude that our society still brings into the table of engaging with life, yes. And for sure, the news about riots, about social disrest, about murders, and really negative, dark expressions of us people yet to be fully blossom as humans. Yes, unfortunately. But everything has its place. So we must consider in a way that we can well, first and foremost, be grateful if we have the major necessities of life provided, and these times like this can bring us that very same sense, yes, the sense that we, by living with having the ability to satisfy several of the most important needs in our lives, we are really and truly blessed. And of course, we are in a position of really feel the gratitude of being alive with that privilege. Yes, in a sense, because I'm seeing you arriving, Julieta, and welcome one more time. And that reminds me of a decision that you've made around putting a dark frame as a post, like many other peoples have done. I haven't done so, but I really revel, I really feel the need for acknowledging all the suffering, all the darkness without bypassing that, without going towards the kindergarten type of spirituality or personal development that simply make a sort of la la la, I'm not listening, I'm not seeing, I'm not looking to whatever is may putting in or jeopardizing my own need to have positivity beyond my own deepest fears. And yes, and of course, we can all feel it happening in one way or the other, for sure. And in times like this, I really believe that deep strength is really acknowledging all there is with full respect by our own true nature. And that respect is an ever ongoing process of learning, of understanding who we are, of getting ever more sense of our identity, yes, as such. And considering that if we have the privilege of being alive in times like this, and if we have the ability to see the reality in broader, balanced terms, then of course we can only acknowledge that with a major crisis comes major opportunities. And for sure, this is not to deny the suffering of us or others, but really is to acknowledge that opportunity, really to assess the dimension of the deep strength that we are talking today. And in my perspective, first and foremost, deep strength amounts to reunion, the gathering of energy towards making us able, to the most of our ability, to sustain, endure, and overcome the challenges and reach the goals, the intents, the dreams that drives us. And as such, of course, you can check the dictionary definition around strength, and that's a really nice start, of course. But it is below the threshold of human fullness of expression, in my perspective, because if you go to the Cambridge dictionary, they say strength is the ability to do things that need a lot of physical or mental effort. Okay, that's just the definition of strength that you can manage to find. Okay, that's a starting point, for sure. But can't we have a little bit more of it? Well, and then other definition comes. The degree to which something is strong or powerful. That's another definition they present here. And then there are other definitions. I just read once more. The last one. At the very best, the best level of ability possible. That's better. That's better. Still, in my perspective, don't mark the spot of strength in a way that can allow us to have more of it, for sure. Well, but let's not put it too much of a drive into the core or taken as nice definition of strength. But if we consider that the strength really amounts to the gathering, the reunion of energy, and if we purpose-driven the perspective, or if we see it with that lens of that purpose of us making the very best of ourselves in the most truthful and creative expression possible, so we can amount that, okay, gathering energy really is a very personal issue that, of course, depends on fundamentally universal principles around how life and universe operates, but those in very concrete terms, those change from people to people and from person to person. And of course, and that stresses the importance of the old motto that says, know yourself, capitalize on your strengths instead on your weaknesses. But for that, you need to know what are your strengths, right? In plural. And as such, if we want to consider the reunion side of it, the energetic reunion, we need to understand how scattered we are to begin with, to begin that process of reunion. And of course, that translates into having a perception keen enough to grasp what really is that we need to consider in any given time in order to fully optimize our strengths and to make it deep. And really, it really is a matter of gut and intuition at the same time, moment to moment, amounting to really a keen sense of internal radar, having its best range possible of perception. What really is happening right now? Okay, when I'm seeing a riot scene onto a screen, onto a news, onto whatever, television, computer, whatever, cell phone, smartphone, how does that make me feel? Am I afraid or am I somewhat excited because of that flush of energy that comes and that shakes some of the boredness for some people who live bored lives, and they say, oh my god, I wish it was, or some anarchic tendency. I'm recalling when I was a teenager, now I'm recalling a scene, a story. When I was into a place eating some sandwiches with some friends, and there was a guy there working there that was friend of one of the guys, and he started talking with us, and they started asking him, oh, how are things are going here? Oh, everything's okay, nothing happens. And then he made a remark around hoping for some sort of violence to take place in there. And that type of funny remark that many people sometimes make when they feel bored or when they feel the need to feel more alive. Of course, and now I'm analyzing the guy in that sense, because really he was after getting the sense of being alive as such, and he was not cut to work there, at least in his perspective. And as such, he, of course, made that remark that strikes as insensitive, for sure, and well, stupid. But it is a remark that it's made so many times for so many people. That really, of course, reveals a lot of things beyond just the need to be and feel alive, like the lack of empathy, the lack of depth, in real depth in living, and of course strength, if we want to consider that, really amounts to the disease of living without being fully alive, which is a pervasive disease these days. Because, and all of those things that we sense or perceive as unhuman in our behavior, most of them, not to say all of them, derive and stem from the fact that we don't allow ourselves the full measure of our human ability to really gather our strength. And that is really so much of an evidence if you look it deeply. in every single realm of human existence, our society still, mostly in general terms, has bias and blocks that prevents us from accessing the deepest reserves, the deep wells of our power. If you think in physical terms, people have difficult breathing nice air, for starts. Or if they are in nature, they don't know how to breathe properly. And then we can go on and go on and go on, and we can talk that our food, the calorie intake, and the nutrients are lacking of quality ever more, decades passing by. We have ever more pesticides polluting our food, our water, our nutrition intake as a whole. And then you can go on and you can go on and you can go on, because the more disconnected from nature and the more complex the way of living becomes, the more the disconnect and disengage expands, and the harder, the less simpler at least, is the process of gathering energy without losing it into intermediate type of steps. And if you think about it, many of the most really pandemic diseases and conditions in this civilization stem from that uncontrollable multiplication of complexity into our lives. The way I see it in diseases like cancer, for instance, or in diseases that strike several of the most complex body systems, like heart and nervous diseases. Those are diseases, in my perspective, of complexity, of stressing and putting under strain the very same systems that would operate with ease and assure that we have the full measure of our internal resources flowing for us to use. Removing those layers of complexity, and of course the big prevalent cancer condition, which is maybe one of the biggest signs around it all, and around the illusory imperative for growth at any cost, which is the process of the cells replicating without any regard for the life or for the host, for the bodily host in which they are replicating. And of course, we can think, oh yes, but we can having nice habits and having nice this and that. Yes, but still the systemic factors can be so strong that they really prevent our very best selves. And so now I'm painting somewhat the dark side or the shadow side of the strength of the force. Well, what's the solution? I believe the solution really amounts to the expression that I've chosen, or that I've come to acknowledge as a necessity to bring to you today: the deep strength. Well, I believe you can have the depth of anything, you can have it in complexity, as long as it is respectful of the life nurturing principles or the universal principles, if you prefer. That's the first thing. If you look at network theory, if you have an interest of going towards that, if you go check the ecological systems, the life giving systems, how they operate in our bodies, in plants, in animals, and in perceiving those with the lens of the human development. How can I apply those to my life? And there are several people who have done it wonderfully, because there are many works of science that are coming across today, and they really are really reader friendly, really are very friendly for the non-specialist in that sense, and they really cross the divide that I really felt when I was a kid. That I can't see any sense into the natural sciences. So what these things that I learn in school, or how do I apply it to things that matter to me? How do I use all of this? Of course, I also thought about the very same things about mathematics and physics and chemic. Yes, chemistry. I'm sorry. My English now has elapsed. But now things are coming to a more clearer place, and we are getting that advantage of having that very clear place coming by. And another point I would like to make is that deep strength really amounts to peace, and really amounts to accept life as it is. And I would love to see your comments, and I would love to see your own remarks, your opinion about what is deep strength for you, or what is strength to you. What do you think adds strength to your own life, and what do you think removes strength from your life? And what are the things, and some remarks for you to choose, what do you think that adds strength onto your life purpose, no matter what stage you are regarding that very same purpose? And roughly, of course, you can remind me. You can remind that you can be in the discovery phase, explorative phase, or you can be in the transitional phase, or you can be at the excellence, performance, mastery stage of purpose. Very rudely speaking, just use the trifecta of purposeful dimensions, and we talk about several ways of differentiating purpose, but not to disperse or to scatter ourselves, to keep our strength in this subject. What is strength of purpose to you? Peace really is the unspeakable base from which purpose and purpose-driven strength can shine forth the best. I believe so. And of course, I really believe so that the contemplative practice, the mindfulness, observing, sensing, perception type of practice is it's the par excellence ground zero type of place that opens the space for all the very best in us shine forth. And then, of course, the way we view the world. What are our beliefs about life? What is, or what are the truths that we choose to engage and to relate as most significant about how life works, how this world works? Because we are, as we already talked in other lives, we are co-creating reality with our own perception of it. We are not simple subject-object type of relationship. At least that's the worldview that I really believe that it's the most appropriate for us to consider. And that's, of course, it's ever more being called forth by modern science, quantum physics, quantum investigations and studies, in principles like the Eisenstein principle, and treated in several other studies that are being ever more taking place right these days. And of course, if we went into the nitty-gritty specifics about creating strength into manifest realms, of course, the cooperative, collaborative type of study, no matter what area they may be, as long as they respect the sciences of life principle, no matter what is the perspective they take, which is the ancient science perspective, or spiritual science, or current science. Use a language that is most comfortable to you, that you feel that it's more keen to the place and to your feelings and to your time and to your mental bandwidth, emotional bandwidth, because we all have different requests on those onto different times in our lives, stages. It really amounts to what really can serve us the best. The network theory says that, of course, and that's the same type of theory that social networks, search engines, and all the big tech companies today use to maximize their punch in terms of business models. And so they are not doing out of caprice, so to say. I believe that's the word for capricho in English. They really are doing it because there's a deep science onto how our realities get deeper, weaving, connected, not only for the individuals and the elements that participate on the web, as much as the necessities of the aggregate as a whole, the web as a whole. And if we think in ourselves, in Julie, but how do I get deep strength right now? Okay, what are, first and foremost, why do you feel the need of that deep strength? What are the leaks, the escapes of your own energy? Is it too much social media? Is it lack of sleep, lack of hydration, food, poor food, too much fast food, lack of exercise, too much thoughts going around, bouncing in your head? What? But okay, you can look at, but if you have a deep understanding of the principles, of the nuanced ways in which those thoughts, feelings, behaviors operate, then you easily can make structural changes that really operate on a deep level, and that can really make your life much, much, much easier. So that's the thing about deep strength. Gathering of resources, of course, gathering amounts to, of course, concentration, focus, and that's the theme of many, many literature that we can see these days. I'm seeing a book behind me that stresses that very same point. Deep Work from Mr. Cal Newport. It's like another manifesto defending the need for us to consider the necessity of working without distractions, of keeping our blocks of space dedicated into making the very best creative work possible, work that really represents us, and our best that gratifies us, that makes us feel fully and ever more alive. And now I'm seeing a remark. Julieta, I feel as an endless strength when focused on a specific purpose, even if not life purpose, but a stepping purposeful stage that feels like a destination. Burning feeling, removing strength, pain. Emotional pain takes my focus away, weak spots. Strength is internal and somewhat physical. It is the way we use energy around, inside and coming at us, quote unquote. That's how I perceive it at this stage. Got it. Actually got a tattoo made in kanji about strength. Okay. Surely got some energy pain there, for sure. That can be a way. And that can be a way of gathering scattered pieces in our soul. The way we deal with pain. And that can be quite a theme, especially if we consider that many of ways of dealing with pain we have in our society are more or less normalized, and we can or not use those to strength or to self-destruct. Like, ideally, if we deal with pain, emotional pain, by translating it to physical exercise that also can generate pain, we are having, if making a sustainable practice, making a conversion of energy and having a cleanse, an emotional cleanse, without putting ourselves at risk. In fact, quite the opposite. We are making ourselves healthier. But if you do it with drugs or alcohol, the whole thing changes. You are just setting an escape that it really is like a destructive boomerang that at the end of the road comes after us. So that's the thing. But I will make a remark at the beginning of your comment. Even if not life purpose, but the stepping purposeful stage. Well, in my perspective, and in the perspective that I've been trying to convey here, there really are no differences. Because in deeper sense, we are always living our life purpose. What happens is that we may or may not acknowledge the lessons and being ourselves, in the sense of acknowledging ourselves doing one thing or the other. But I get the way. I believe you are speaking about some levels of truth, of personal truth, being or not expressed as such. But correct me if I'm wrong in another comment, if you like. I believe you are speaking about deepest levels of self-expression, different interests, passions, roles that we may or may not take, the way we express or not express our own voice into some places that we contribute, or we feel that we are below our contribution thresholds or capacity or ability, if you prefer. So I believe I understand that. But for sure, strength really is a personal combination, a recipe that really changes with each and every one of us, for sure. And there are no universal formulas, even for each and every one of us, because we are changing by the moment. Our life is a cycle of growth and perfecting and unleashing different sides and dimensions of ourselves, and as such we must keep the dance going on. There's not a thing that we can simply plug and now we are cruise set and let's let it drive it by itself. No, and that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems with the conventional type of life. Patterned as such is when people put life on automatic pilot, and then is like I believe it's Robin Sharma who says that you shouldn't expect to live the same year 70 times and call that a life. You should live really 70, 80, 90, whatever years. Each and every single one of those should strike a perfume, because we are not automatons, we are not robots, we are people, and as such we are completely changing our makeup once and foremost. And of course, there is no deeper strength, in my perspective, that being truthful, that really being purposeful, and those really at the very highest, deepest level, those are synonyms. Being our very selves and paying the prices needed in order to do so, to the very best of our ability. We are not bound to perfection as an ideal of such, but we are bound to our own consciousness, to our internal sense of integrity. Am I putting the very best in this that I can put, given the circumstances, given my perception of what is right or wrong or not so right? That's the thing. Being truthful, respecting our integrity, really is the biggest catalyst for strength that I can find. And of course, that automatically gathers, reunites, concentrates all the energy, summons all the energy that we need within ourselves and beyond ourselves in transpersonal terms. And thinking in that, we can really see it in another sense, that if we believe really in having the spark of the divine living in us, like in every single thing, then the highest and deepest source of strength really amounts to the, in my own belief and practice, not just daily, more than daily, amounts to surrendering personal will to the will of the divine, to the will of the universe, to the will of the whole, if you prefer. And really reinforcing, really deliberately launch that intent, expressing that intent, using your voice, using your pen, using your thought, using your feeling, using the whole of yourself to the very best of your ability, to get the universe not only by your side, but using you as a channel to express, to acknowledge, and to be ever more, which already is. I believe that's the conception of deep strength that better reflects my understanding around it all. And I would like to finish with this remark, because I would like to finish with the very best I can express about my own need for strength, and how do I summon strength when I feel it is being lost, or when I feel that I don't have it enough, or when life is harder, or I perceive it as such. And if you don't have any other remarks, I will end it for today. Thank you so much once more for stopping by. Tomorrow we will talk about one of the angles that really connects with this that we are talking today, and it's the angle of the truth blossoming. That's what I will call it. Truth blossoming will be the subject of tomorrow live, and as such I really will strive to bring forth what is the blossoming sense of perspective of the truth that we can sense, but isn't the truth objective? Sense of being this or being that? How does this relate with shades of truth, of degrees of truth or truthfulness? And what all of it has to do with life purpose? In what senses? We will talk about it tomorrow. Take good care. Have a nice rest of evening.